Okay, we're going to do a few more constructions and we're going to build off of what we already know. Remember, you should be using your compass and your straight edge. If you don't have those, you can't do this. And you need to be using these and leaving all your construction marks on here. Don't try to fake me out. It's not the same if you do it without the tools. So the first one is a perpendicular bisector. Remember, that's going to be perpendicular and it's going to cut it in half. So I'm going to start at the two ends. I'm going to start at the two end points of my segment, and I'm going to be finding the middle of this and drawing a line perpendicular. So I'm going to start, I want this to be a little over halfway, about 2/3 is fine, as long as it's more than half and not at the end. And I need to draw almost a half circle, and then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. Remember, I've told you several times that it's easier to hold your compass in one place and turn the paper as you go than to try to turn the compass. Once I've got my two arcs there, I'm going to take and draw with my straight edge right through these, through the two intersections, and then I'm going to come back and draw that in with my colored pencil, now that I've got it good. I notice that both of these sides are equal here. Both of these sides are equal, and it is perpendicular. I'm going to put a little 90 degrees showing it's perpendicular. And I'm going to put a little mark here and here showing those are equal. So that's a perpendicular bisector. These next three, it says we're going to construct a line segment perpendicular to the segment through the given point. So this time they told me go through this point, not a midpoint there. But we already know how to make it perpendicular if we are talking about the midpoint. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at this point right here, and I'm going to find a distance by putting two arcs, same distance away. Now literally, this does happen to be the middle of these 2 points here. So now that I've found these 2 points, and I know that's exactly the middle, now I can just do it exactly the same way I did it here. I'm just pretending these are the ends of my segments. So make your arc a little bit bigger than halfway, draw these two in, and draw your perpendicular through that point. If everything lined up properly, you should have 3 points lining up here. 1, 2, 3, mine do. So that means I did a good job. If they don't quite line up, something got off when you were drawing it, and you should go back. There's all my points lining up. Now, if it's not actually on the line, I can still use the same technique. I need to put my point at the dot right here. Put my point at the dot, and I need to set my compass so that I'm going to intersect the line in 2 different places. And I've intersected here and here. Now I'm going to take those 2 points, which I'm just going to, you don't necessarily need to darken it, but I know it's a little hard to see on the video. These are my 2 points where it's intersecting right here. So I'm now going to use my compass, and I'm going to do a perpendicular bisector with those 2 points. I drew my 2 arcs in using these 2 points here. I need to draw my line in. There's my line. It's perpendicular, and it goes through this point that it was supposed to. Once again, if it's not hitting all 3 of these points, you need to go back and check it. If it's off a tiny bit, it's okay, but it should be pretty close. Now this time my point is at right here at this end, so all I need to do is extend this line to begin with. Take this line, extend it to begin with. And you want to put your straight edge most of the distance there, extend the line. Now we're just going to do the same exact thing. Put arcs on each side so that this point where I need my line to be perpendicular becomes the midpoint. Set my arc slightly bigger than that. Draw my 2 arcs just like I have on the other ones. And draw in the perpendicular bisector. Once again, it should hit and go through all 3 of my points there. It does, and it should look perpendicular, and it should look centered there. Your picture should be kind of messy just like mine by the time you're done. It should have the extra arcs on there. It should have all these arcs in the right place. They should be made with a compass. Alright, finally we're going to make a line that's parallel and through this point. And in order to do that, what I'm going to do is first I'm just going to draw a line that goes through this point. I don't want this line to be perpendicular. I want it to be at an angle that I can see. So just pick an angle, go through the 2 lines there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this angle here, and I want this arc to be slightly smaller than the distance from the point to the line. And I'm going to draw this in here. And then keeping the same one, I'm going to repeat that process up here. Now, I'm going to measure this angle, and what I'm literally doing is copying this angle up here on this part here. When I do that, I've made two angles that are the same size. Now, when I come and draw this line through here, like this, my two lines end up being parallel because this angle here that I drew and this angle here are called corresponding angles. And what we're going to talk about in our next unit is that corresponding angles are congruent. They're the same size. So literally what I did was I used the fact that I know these two angles are going to be the same if the lines are parallel to draw that second parallel line. I'm going to color it in so that we can see I drew it. Now we're going to do a couple of fun things with some triangles, and we're going to see if we do this correctly that these lines are going to end up all intersecting in the middle. First I'm going to draw in all three perpendicular bisectors. So I'm going to do a perpendicular bisector on each side, and these are going to get a little messy, so you just pick one side, and remember how to do perpendicular bisectors. It needs to be a little bit bigger than 1/2, and I do it from each end. So I'm going to do this side, and this side. And I suggest you draw each one in as you go. Now this one, here it is. There's my first one. Now I'm going to do it for my next side. At this side of the triangle, now I need to do another side. So pick another side. You can make your, remember you want to keep these arcs just a little over halfway so that they're not ginormous. And do the second side. And draw it in. And do the third side. The third side I haven't done is this side here. And this is where when the angles start overlapping, you have to be sure you're knowing which angle you're talking about here. I didn't do this one big enough. And it's this one and this one. Draw it in. And what I see here is that's where all three of the points are lining up. If you've done it correctly, each one of these, I'm just going to draw the part inside the triangle, will line up and match up. And they should be concurrent, which means they end up lining up right there on a dot. I want you to do the second one on your own. It's the same thing. Find the perpendicular bisector of each side and see if they intersect in the middle. This last one we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing but with angle bisectors. So we're going to go back and bisect each angle. Remember how we do that? We take and we make an arc on the angle like this. Then I take and come in here and I want my angle to be a little bit less than the full way, more than halfway, and draw in arcs on both sides, starting with where my arc is intersecting my ray, and draw it in. And then I'm going to come in and draw in through the vertex and through each of my intersections. So I just did this angle. Now I need to do the same thing on each of my other angles, and this will get kind of over the top of each other, so just kind of be aware and keep track of what you're working on. I'm going to do my second one here. Repeat the process. And this one does get awfully on top of itself. But just keep track of which angles you're working with here. You're tempted to go back and erase everything, but remember you need them all there. And then do your last one. First draw in the arc, then go halfway from each side. Okay, I paused so that you could just see my end results here. I've done the angle bisector on this angle just like I did on the other ones. And I do have all these arcs and stuff left in here. And then I just went back and highlighted my three angles. Just like we saw up here where the perpendicular bisectors in a triangle all meet in one place, the angle bisectors also are concurrent and all meet in one place. So finish this one up and do this one on your own.